on creating dynamic forms, which is great because he can cross-reference that during his presentation. So at this point, I'm going to move on to our main presentation and introduce today's speaker. Joining us today from SmartDoc Technologies is J.P. Terry. J.P. is the co-founder and CEO of SmartDoc Technologies and the author of the Adobe Press books, Paperless, Real-World Solutions with Adobe Technology, and Creating Dynamic Forms with Adobe Lifecycle Designer. Welcome, and thanks so much for joining us today, JP.
Thanks, Lori, and thanks everyone for joining us. It'll be, I think, an interesting session today. And as Lori mentioned, my name is JP Terry, and today we're going to be looking at techniques for building dynamic forms. Today's material is taken from the new Adobe Press book called Paperless, and it's a specific chapter in Paperless on the institutional investor case study. We provided a couple things up in the pod for you, a sample of Paperless and all the example files that we'll be showing today. So you can download those files. I'm going to show you three files in Lifecycle Designer. And it looked like most of you had Acrobat Pro or Pro Extended, so you have Lifecycle Designer as part of that if you have the Windows version. So you can download these files. You can go through exactly what I'm going to show you in a hands-on session. We're going to be covering a lot. There's a lot of information here, and I think it'll give you some good fundamentals. It'll give you some advanced techniques. But if there's anything about dynamic forms that are relatively new to you, the black book on the right covers Lifecycle Designer. It was from 2007 and covers some basics. And Paperless, of course, expands on that, but it focuses on real-world case studies with Lifecycle. So today we're going to be looking at the institutional investor case study from Paperless. And my email address is there if you have any questions about the files or questions about the books. There's a little more information. Oh. I think we switched modes here. Let me actually share my screen so you can see. See if this is better.
Yeah, we can see your screen there.
Okay. So let me start from the beginning. No, just kidding. We're going to be looking at building dynamic forms today, and as I was saying, that this particular information is covered in Paperless, and all these concepts were first covered in the black book on the right, Adobe Lifecycle Designer. We're going to show you three files, and they're all up on the pod. So I think everyone is now seeing the presentation. So we're going to be looking at three dynamic form techniques. The first one is progressive disclosure, and we're going to look at the macro and the micro level progressive disclosure. And I see there's a question about getting the files, so we'll post that right at the end. You can download the files. So in addition to progressive disclosure, we're going to be looking at database integration, and we're going to be looking at integrating your PDF forms with a SQL Server database, both with and without Lifecycle on the server. So if some of you have or don't have Lifecycle on the server, you can still integrate your PDF forms with SQL Server. And as Lori mentioned, we're going to be looking at a type ahead feature, an auto completion feature, and it goes by various names. I think Microsoft calls it IntelliSense. Google calls it type ahead. But once you see it, you'll recognize it. And it's a great technique for dynamic forms to really help your form filler complete the form. And all of this is going to be within the context of a case study, the institutional investor case study. And this is a real-world success story. They have been using this dynamic form system since September 2007, and each of these techniques are in use at institutional investor. And as I mentioned, we have the files, and we're going to let you all download the files, and you can play with this directly in your own Lifecycle Designer. So institutional investor. Institutional investor is really and has been one of the foremost financial publishers For the past 5 decades. They've won various awards. If you follow the financial market, you'll know that their surveys are very influential. Their analysis is very influential. They publish various magazines and journals on finance. Most notably, their flagship magazine, Institutional Investor. Now, Institutional Investor conducts many surveys of international finance about 6 times a year. So they give a very rich view of what's going on in the financial business. And they've been conducting these surveys really for generations.